here? Well, okay. I am going to make a little live video today, and it is time for me to update this laptop. It's a Dell 1525 laptop. I just zoomed in on the screen there, and actually I'll go to my desktop here, and I've got it on remote desktop. Make sure I'm on the right place. Yeah, okay. So I've got it up here in TeamViewer on my remote desktop. And get my initial coughing over and everything. I think I'll leave the browser open, but I'll get off of that window. So this is my Dell 1525 laptop, and it has Fedora 21 on it. I put that on there a few years ago now, and I used the thing mostly for watching TV. It has an S video output, super VHS video output. I have to have a little drink. I always start to get an itchy throat and cough whenever I try to talk. Okay, so and it has an HDMI, but my old TV doesn't have HDMI. It just has S video. So anyway, I've used it for years, and I have it all. I always one thing I hate about updating a system is, once you get them all the way you want them. See, I've got all these apps on here that I like. Of course, with this one, it doesn't really need all that because I don't really play games, but I have plenty of graphics and internet apps, and from time to time I'll use them. And if I ever take this somewhere, then I want it to be just as many apps as I may need, like as good as my desktop, and like I have a lot of audio video apps because it has a built-in webcam, and you can actually, when I got it, it was more powerful than my desktop I had. This was a 2.1 or something gigahertz Core 2 Duo, and the desktop was a Core 2 and both Intels, but it was only 1.8 gigahertz. Well, now I have one that's a 4 quad core Intel, and it has 4 gig of RAM, but it only has 256 megabyte of video memory. That's the one I'm using right now to make this OBS Studio YouTube broadcast with. It'll handle that. The processor's okay. It's like 2.4 gigahertz. But anyway, some of these apps I have on this laptop, I don't even have them on desktop. I installed it with Fedora Jam, which I don't even think you can just download anymore. I'm not sure. I think you have to just build it, but it's okay. It's easy, really, to build them. You can really just start with basic Fedora, and I used to like getting a specific remix to what I wanted. But you can just install the basic Fedora, like I'm going to install Mate, the Mate Compiz desktop, Fedora 25 with the Mate Compiz desktop, and then you can use group install commands to install whatever. Like this is considered a spin. They call it spins, and you have to go to the area you go to is Fedora Labs, I believe it's called, and then it has the spins in it. It used to be Fedora spins. It got kind of confusing for a couple of years there because you don't actually I usually stay a couple of distros behind, a couple of releases behind, but I'll just kind of go through. Let me see. To cut down on my bandwidth usage, I think I'll close this remote desktop connection over here because, let me see, what's the easiest way to do that? Probably the easiest way to do it is to just close the window, and that'll do it. Yeah, I don't want to be using up any more bandwidth than I really need because, I'm streaming live here. Let's see. Before I do that, let's see if it looks like it's in good health. Yeah, the stream's in good health. So if I leave that there, yeah, and then I can just glance over without having to show this to, everyone else. Okay, so if I close that, yep, there we go. So I can close TeamViewer now. That also helps not run too many things. See, OBS Studio is using 25%, 23%, but right now it's doing good, 417 megabyte of RAM. But it does, you got to watch it. Sometimes it'll get get the machine bogged down. Let's make sure I'm still on the desktop. Okay. Sometimes I get mixed up and I think I'm in one place and I'm in another. And let's see, yeah, I used my bookmarks to find what I want to show. So right now I don't want to change pages. Alright, so you start with, I started on the page that I wanted to do. I've already got it all downloaded. I'll show you what I've got first. Already I have downloaded for different machines that I want to put it on. I haven't done any. I've only done one machine. It wasn't even mine. Helped somebody, do one. But here in Crusader File Manager, and that's my video being made over there on that side. So there's Fedora XFCE, x86-64, and then i386, and then I've got Fedora Server, x86-64, and I don't believe Server has a 32-bit anymore. And I have Fedora 23 on my server, and it was 32-bit then. But and my machines I use for my servers are usually like around the Pentium 4 age, because the one I'm using is a Celeron. They make good servers because they're not make a lot of heat, and they have just enough power to be a good web server. But so I may have to use Debane this next time. I haven't upgraded my server yet either. Let's see. And this machine I'm working on right now is Fedora 23 as well. It needs to be upgraded. I got a bunch of machines to do now. Let's see. Then there's security. That's just it's a real lightweight. I think it has XFCE desktop too, if I remember right. Anyway, you can boot it real quick if you just want to do some recovery work or whatever, or just test it on a machine, like an older machine or something. These dual cores, Fedora's doing pretty good, but about not getting too bloated. But, it definitely uses more resources now than it used to. So, like Fedora 21 is fine, but Linux or Windows, it doesn't, either one, the more apps you add, the more things you'll end up with things running, some certain things running in the background. It's not near as bad in Linux, but you can tell a difference. And really, the thing that I noticed the most is it was always Java and Flash, the most resource-hungry app you can run on a machine nowadays. They used to say, if you're just going to use your machine for internet and email, all you need is this, you don't have to have that powerful of a machine. Well, hasn't been so for quite a few years now, probably 5 years, maybe a lot longer than that, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, I don't know. But with Flash and Java, eating up your resource, and then whenever there were bugs in them, it'd eat up 100%. Flash would eat up 100% of your processing power, and now I don't even have right here the web browser for Firefox 53, I think it is. Keep it up, always keep everything all updated. Yeah, 53, 64-bit, but I do not have Flash or Java installed on this one. So all the videos that I watch, like on YouTube or whatever, they're going to be using HTML5. Well, that's just, sometimes that can be as resource hungry as Flash was back in the bad old days. But Flash is even worse. If I have another version of Firefox on here that has all that installed on it, and if you try to use that, you can't use it for long before it will. And especially when you don't have much video memory. That's the only real problem with this machine. It has only 256 megabytes of video memory shared on the chip, Well, the laptop has like 348 or whatever, So something like that. So it's better. That's one reason why it was better for watching, videos on TV and stuff than this one would be. But anyway, back to my images I have downloaded. ISO images, the easiest ones to use, I think. To me, they are. You don't have to mess with. If you're using a USB stick or a CD or DVD, these are too big for a CD. See, they're all in the plus 1 gigabyte range. USB stick's the easiest way, and there's an app that Fedora has made for that now, so it makes it real easy. I used to use other apps by other authors, but now they decided to make one and it works really well, so that's the one I'm using. I was going to open it up. I don't even remember the name of it, but I have it on my machine. I know it because I used it a while back. But So another version of Live Security. See, that's 386. So see, that'll run on any older and newer machines. And then here's the one I'm going to be installing, x86-64. Then there's i386, so it'll run just fine. And you could install the base. See, that's what I might have to do with my server. I could install that. I go around in circles. The dual core machine is beginning to. The Fedora 21 is pretty much overwhelming it these days watching videos, and that's what I built the thing for. Trying to watch, or if you like, I have Amazon Prime. If I try to watch something on there, it really works it hard. It barely can do it anymore. So I'm almost wondering. I'm going to go ahead and put Fedora 25 on it, but if it can't keep up, then that'll tell me, well, all my quad cores, all my dual cores and back are going to have to go with the Bane and not, because it's a whole lot. It's just like less than half as many resources. I still have like the Bane 6 running on a Pentium 3 out in the garage. A couple of them. I have three machines out there that are back in that age range. And 350. One's a 350 megahertz, and the other one's a 500 megahertz Pentium 3, and then I have a couple of WISC. They're sort of like embedded systems. Not really. They have. They have flash. The oddest thing you've ever seen. I'm going way around in circles. They are five. They each have 512 megabytes of flash memory on them, like your your flash drives, like you put in your phones and whatever. But this was IDE, and I never even knew they had anything like that. Of course, it's just enough for a very small system. It was Windows XP back when they were made. They're used in. These came from hotels. From my old neighbor, moved away, but he grew up next door to me. Still keep in touch once in a while. He'll bring me old machines sometimes, and sometimes I'll help him out with stuff that when he needs a little help with computers and stuff. And so he gave me 3 of those, and 2 of them worked, and 1 of them didn't. And anyway, that was really interesting. But they're 1 gigahertz. They had 256 megabytes to 512 megabytes of memory, and I was going to try to make something to watch TV with them, but they didn't have enough video memory. They couldn't handle it. So then that's when I ended up using a laptop. So they're getting to the point now, they keep on the web browsers, back to the web browsers and watching video online. They keep using more and more resources. So now I'm going to have to fixing to find out whether I can run Fedora 25 on that and then the other dual cores I have around here, or if I'm going to switch them to Debane. And the only thing about Debane is I learned on Fedora. I started in 2005 with Fedora, and that's what I learned on, and I like it better. I remember. I don't do a lot of command line work, but I remember the install commands. Of course, now they use DNF, but you can just use the commands and it'll do it for you. But the app dash get, blah blah, app get dash so and so it's hard for me to remember even the basic commands on Debane. And there's a lot of other things. Debane focuses on being stable, which is great, but they'll stay behind on you won't play some of the video on the web, sometimes. So I ran it for 2 years as my main OS back at Debane 7, etch and a half. And I got tired of that after 2 years. Went back to Fedora. And the only reason I even switched is because, I learned on a remix called Blag Linux. That was the first one I tried with Fedora 5 up to Fedora 9. And Fedora 9, it was broke. It just wouldn't work. And so I tried out regular Fedora, and it was so basic, and I didn't really want to build a system from scratch back then. I didn't really know as much, as I do now. And so I found it was the very first release of Artist X, which ran on Debane etch and a half, and they told you how to build it on there actually. And it was actually pretty simple. You just installed Debane etch and then copy and pasted the list of applications to build up Artist X into the command line, and app get install, and let it wait for a couple hours, and it did it for you. So that's how I learned how to make install scripts too. But And I started doing that in Fedora after that. So then I could build a Fedora system. And now that doesn't work so well. The old scripts won't a lot of the apps aren't even available anymore to install on the newer systems. Plus DNF doesn't have skip broken. That was the reason it actually worked in Fedora, because you could do skip broken and get 98% of your apps would work most of the time. So anyway, going on about all kinds of things. Fedora Jam. Okay, yeah, they still have it. There it is right there. Fedora 25. These are all Fedora 25, so that's Jam. So that's what I have on the laptop, but it's the Fedora 21 version. That has KDE desktop, though, and I usually do install 2 or 3 desktops and have one for backup. Usually, I used to always install KDE and Genome, but now I install Mate and usually KDE or XFCE. I don't like Genome 3. I don't want my desktop computer to work like a touch phone. I don't like the layout. I don't like anything about it. It's fine on a phone, but not on my desktop. So, and Genome 3 uses a whole lot more resources except for KDE. KDE uses quite a bit of resources. Actually, Genome 3 may be better than, but last time I tried it out, it wasn't as heavy on the resources as KDE is. But when it first came out, my machines I had wouldn't even run it. It wouldn't run it at all. It would have to fall back to legacy mode or whatever they called it. And so anyway, that's what I have, and what I had debated about putting Jam on, starting out with Fedora Jam, because it has all the audio video apps. And the good thing about starting with that is it installs everything for the Jack audio server. That's hard. I've tried it, and to me it's hard to install it and get it working. I've tried to do it myself, and the only time I've been successful is when I install Jam. Or let's see, I have it on this machine, and I got it by I'll show kind of how I have a lot of all the on here. I have what I did this time, and that's what I think I'll start doing from now on. See, I have just pretty much most all the same apps. I did the See, that's the education. I just went and did the group install. So I have all of the audio video stuff. What's it? That's electronics. A couple of games that I never play there. Flight Gears, one game that I actually do like, but it's not considered really a game. It's supposed to be a flight simulator, but yeah, that's what they call it. But anyway, I do a lot of audio, video, and picture work, graphics. I used to do a lot more playing around with graphics than I do now, but I take a lot of pictures just like everybody else, and I like to make videos. So sometimes I actually get around and edit a video. I like to YouTube live, that way I don't have to edit them. But see, OBS Studio is what I'm using, and it's great for making live streams. It's free and open source. And see, there's Jack. I have all the Jack apps on here, and I didn't. What I did was I installed the audio group. So yeah, so that's what I think I'll do, and I'll just start with the basic Fedora. It doesn't have much, hardly enough to even do your daily stuff, but it's now that it's they have all these groups. They had them for a long time, and I just didn't pay attention and catch on to how to use them. And the group install method works really well, and you don't get the errors that you do if you try to build your own script. I used to build a script from my old systems and run that, and it worked fine, but my scripts were all started with Fedora 14, and once I got up to I looked over at my laptop and I could see things moving on the screen. It was what I just got through doing. Okay, so at least I know I'm live and everything's working good. So anyway, yeah, you can't really, that doesn't really work anymore. It would work okay, like if I went from Fedora 23 to 25, it might work. Like if I tried to reproduce this system right here, then I might be able to do that with an install script, but I would probably have a bunch of stuff there are some apps on here, and when you experiment with stuff and it doesn't work, there's apps on here that doesn't even, there's probably a few that don't even work right. I know I have some that I installed. I have this like Texas Instruments IDE and some things like that aren't in the Fedora repos, and those would not install. As a matter of fact, it would probably hang up my script, because yeah, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't, unless unless DNF has skip broken now, but I don't think it does. Didn't last time I checked. So anyway, let's go through this. I'm just going to go. My plan, I don't know if it may take too long. My plan is to just do this live. And I just thought I would go through. I didn't mean to go around and around for 20 minutes here, but showing the process, So I've already downloaded them, but here's the information. You click, these links are on every page about downloading, using, installing. When I went ahead and clicked on that, and it tells you all you need to know. That puts you to the Fedora project.org documentation page there. That'll explain it to you step by step. And of course, I already have them installed. Let's see, using spins. I won't go into that because I'm not going to. So let me. You can use it to create a virtual machine. You can do that, which is not what I'm going to do. I'm going to run it in VirtualBox. I have VirtualBox on here too. And then I'll put it on a USB stick. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so let's look at that because I think it may tell a little something about, burning the ISO image to disk. Actually, I might want to review this a little bit, make sure I'm getting the right app. Before I do that though, let's see. I think I have that's what I'm going to be doing. Okay, let's see. Now these are the type that UNet booting is the one I used to use, but it doesn't work right with Fedora anymore. And a multi-writer I always thought it'd be cool. You can write more than one USB at a time, but I've never actually had a reason to do it. Oh, there it is. Fedora Media Writer. Write Fedora images to your portable drives. That's the one I'm going to use. Now I'll go back on the website as soon as that opens up and kind of check it out. But this is, and it'll download them for you and everything, but I already have them downloaded. And you can see, you can click here, but let's go back to the page. What's this? Copyright stuff. Okay, downloading. I'm not going to go step by step on everything. If you don't know how to download, then read the instructions on downloading. I just thought I'd kind of give a general rundown of where to go to find the information. But if you don't know how to do it at all, then you're going to need to read through this stuff. So, okay, you can do it in Windows, you can do it in Mac, or you can do it in Linux. I'm going to click on Linux because that's the way I'm going to do it. Okay. You need the DVD creator. Of course, if you're going to do it with a CD or DVD, then my favorite one is K3B. I'm not going to open it. If you're on Linux, K3B is really easy for writing CD, and it's going to have to be a DVD because it's too big for a CD. But let's see. That's just about CDs and DVDs. I must not have paid enough attention when I read that. It's not going back where I came from. Try it that way. Okay, yeah, that's burning disks. That's why I didn't go to the right place. Okay, so preparing a USB, and then it just shows Windows and Linux, Linux. Okay. There's a graphic tool available, which is the one I just showed. Oh, it does say it will work on Mac. Okay. You can do it in the command line, but let's see if it showed the name of it. Oh, I think it's gonna, Live USB Creator. There it shows you the commands to install it. Everybody does that. They won't tell you to go. I went to the package manager, and here's what I do. If you're on a Fedora system, you'll have to install Yum, or you can just go to Yum DNF. I'll do that. I'll go to DNF because that's what Fedora uses now. DNF is similar, but it's got some differences, and I don't like the differences. But Live USB creator. You can either copy it like that or you can type it in. There it is. Live USB creator. Looks like it's not installed, but I'm just opened it up. What's the deal with that? Must be a different version. Fedora Media Writer. Let me go back and look and see what I've got going on here. Let me go to Yum and see what the deal is. Let's just... I'm trying to go through it, and of course if you try to go too fast, command line tools, then you'll skip the important stuff. Graphical tools. But the graphical tool only works with live images. Oh, let's see. Okay, yeah, it's called Live CD Tools. That's the command line version. Wait. Live CD Tools. Yeah, those are the command lines, okay. You have to enable the extra packages before you can get to that. Live USB creator. Okay. Well, let me go look at the app and see if I can find it. See, this is one of those newer apps without all the information about the app. You can't click on the right and get the name of it and all that stuff. It's aggravating. But I used it last time, so I'm sure this is the one. It says Fedora Media Writer up there, but that's not unusual. Let me go to Yum and see. Just because I'm more familiar with it, it ends up running the DNF commands is what it does. But that's on odd. For DNF didn't ask me for my root password, which it probably would before you can install anything. I'm pretty sure it would, but it should. Okay, I'm just going to do that search again because it's in my, and it's called Live USB. Oh, the one that I opened up, Fedora Media Writer. I have this thing in an odd place. I usually put things in a little bit different order, but at least if I have them in different desktops, that's one thing I love. See, I have 6 of them, and you can switch really fast as long as you keep something in different desktops. Usually the first one is where I put my Thunderbird, but I shut that down so that I will use less resources while I'm doing my recording here. It's a little slower. See, it's a little slower operating. That's one reason why they went to DNF, because it's a lighter weight and it's faster, uses less system resources. Actually, the problem I had with it is it wasn't showing all the apps available. That shows not to be installed. That's pretty odd. The portable drives, memory cards. Oh, I don't know. I remember the last time there was an older way. I'm not going to go into it, but an older way they used to do it, and I did it that way and it didn't work. And then I went back and read the instructions and figured it out. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Oh, Fedora Media Writer. Okay. Go through here. Yeah, okay. Live USB creator. Live CD tools. Okay, now that's the command line ways, and I don't want to do that. Okay, so I don't remember how I got into this Fedora Media Writer. We'll just leave that like it is. I don't know. There it is, and it's already installed. So I should be all right. Now there's something I didn't expect to get into. I'm glad I went back through here, but let's see. It's not even mentioned. Okay. Well, let's just install that Live CD Creator. This is how I would install it. I mean, yeah, you could have already typed in those commands or copied and pasted and it had done be installed. Oh, there's errors there. Empty transaction. Huh. I wonder if it'll do that in DNF. Let's find out. Let's find out, so we'll know. Since I'm not going around the block instead of, okay, I'm going to select it now. Let's see. That's imply it. Okay. Okay, it's going to install Live CD Creator in Python. Oh, it wants to remove Media Writer. Well, I know I used it last time to make this stick and it worked. I'm not going to do that. This may be what you may want to do, but maybe I'm going to end up saying don't do what I do what I say. That's what the instructions say to do. Now, I don't know. I don't remember if they've changed them since a couple of months ago when I did this last time, but I remember doing this. So, and I'll show you what's in here. If you want to click that way, Fedora Workstation, then it will. It's picking one for you, basically. That would be, and that image, that x86-64 will work for Intel's or AMD and other compatible 64-bit machines. But that's going to give you Genome 3 desktop, so that's why I wouldn't want to do that. Now, Fedora Server would be 64-bit for the server version. And the server version doesn't have or didn't, in Fedora 23, it didn't have a graphic user interface, and I always want a graphic user interface, so I installed it and then installed Made Desktop on it. And actually, at that time, I made a video on doing that, but I didn't have. I knew about OBS Studio, I think, but I couldn't run it. I didn't have a machine that could run it. I couldn't use OBS on a Core 2. I had to finally end up with a quad core before I could do it. Display additional flavors. Let me make that big enough to see it all. There you go. Now here's all the others. Mate, let's see. There we go. 64-bit. Now if you wanted 32-bit, I'm not quite sure. Would it be there? Yeah, here's all the other flavors. And this downloads them and puts them on your USB stick, so it's pretty cool. Speaking of, I need to get my USB stick and put it on here. Oh, and it said at somewhere up at the top of this, let's go get back to the top of it. I'm going to use a custom image. Oh, you can select 64, 32, or ARM. I wasn't paying attention. There you go. Well, I want 64, so that's all good there. So yeah, if you're going to change your format, if your machine will handle 64-bit, that would be the one to go with. If your machine only does 32-bit, then you have to do that. And if it's an ARM, that'd be like a Raspberry Pi or some other prototyping board. And if you're doing that, you probably know you don't need any of my rambling to help you. But so I'm going to put. Okay, now here's what I'm going to do. Here's my little USB stick. Let me switch over. Get this handheld phone here. Now, where's number 3? Okay, so there's my USB stick that I'm gonna. It already has Fedora 25 32-bit that I used last time, like I said. And of course, you've seen USB sticks before. That's the laptop I'm going to put it on. It's running right now. And of course, I'll just I'll just reboot it. That's fine. Let it run and let it help me monitor my thing until see which one's which. Okay, so put this back down. I have to leave these phones plugged in one. See, I'm using those phones as cameras. So and I use a application called IP Webcam, but it does use quite a bit of resources, so I have to keep them plugged in. But get this, and go ahead and plug that into. I don't know if I can do all this or not. I switched it at the wrong time. I'm gonna plug it in. Oh, no, I don't want it in the laptop. That's where I would plug it in. I hadn't thought about that. That actually helps me to see what I'm doing down there. Go back to my desktop. Okay. So now that is plugged into my desktop I'm on right now, so that I can burn my. I think I actually had trouble on this machine with that Fedora Live Creator, and I may have just. It says it noticed that I plugged it in. What do you want to do? Restore. Senders already contains a live system. Do you want to restore it to factory settings? Huh. Well, what I was going to do now, I was reading on here at the beginning of this. It said it doesn't. Actually, that was this program that didn't. It said it didn't. This is a different program. It said it's non-destructive, but this other one may be destructive. You know what? Since I want to make sure it works, factory settings. How would it know? I mean, I just want it to be formatted FAT32, and I want to do it just to see, make sure. Okay, I'll make sure I'm showing what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to go ahead and use it because, there is one thing I want to do. Oh, I can't do that. I was going to unplug this my backup drive. Make sure you don't want to ever make a mistake and delete something important, And see, this is a USB 4.5 terabyte. They call it 5 terabyte, but all I have is 4.5 terabytes when I got it. Anyway, I want to make darn sure I don't delete anything off of here. But I was planning on unplugging it while I was doing this. As long as I'm careful, I'll be okay. But my laptop, I plugged that into the laptop and then I unplugged it before it really finished mounting and had a message over there. It was in front of my screen. I couldn't see my. Okay, so let's make sure. There that is. Yeah, let's make sure my. You don't want to. You want to be very careful when I don't trust apps when it says restore something to factory settings or anything like that, because how do I know it's talking about the right drive? I don't want it to be. I certainly wouldn't want it to. If it's going to do any formatting, then I don't want it to be happening to my backup drive. So, first thing I'm going to do then, I'm going to go to that drive. Okay, 1.4 gigabyte. Oh, okay. It does have to do it that way. Yeah. So I probably will have to say restore it. Actually, no, I should just be able to tell it to. I can't remember. See, when you use a lot of the, when they're non-destructive, then you can just manually delete the files and you're all good. But this is a 1.9 gigabyte. Normally, I'll have 1.9 gigabytes. So 1.4, what's that? That's the size of the image right there. right there. That's the image that's on there, 1.4 gigabytes. So that's doing it. It's made the image size, it's making the drive show up the size of the image. And I don't want to try to go into all that. That was the old way they used to do it. Well, I'm so half confused today. I can't even explain anything anyway very well. So let's I'd get off to the, things that aren't pertaining to right now badly. Okay, so here's what I think I'll do. Go to downloads, Fedora. Do I have any of that on here? No. But the image that I want, I'm going to copy it to my hard drive here, my main hard drive that I'm on. Mate 64. And I may need the checksums. It's always good to have I've checked them before, but let me see. x86-64 checksum. Which one is it though? I may have multiple copies of the same checksums. Okay, but I want Fedora Mate, Compez Live. Okay, I'll just copy both of those over there. They're very small, so it won't matter. I don't need the 386 ones unless I'm gonna do a 386. Okay, x86-64. I'll copy it. The reason I don't have them on my regular hard drive is because I don't have enough space. You see, I've only got 18.4 gigabyte right now. That'll take a minute, but not too bad. Then I'm going to unplug my big old hard drive, so there's no way I can accidentally screw it up. I mean, even if I screwed up, I never have done it, but you want to be super careful. But even if I screwed up the hard drive on this machine, as long as I have all my backups, I can recover it. I'm getting ready to reformat it anyway. I wouldn't want to lose what's on here right now, I mean, every day I use Lucky Backup, and every day it backs everything up. So even my emails and stuff should already be backed up. But they're on that 4.5 terabyte USB drive. So as soon as this copies, I can unplug that, and then I'll feel a lot better. Better safe than sorry. Especially now I can tell that I'm just not 100% with it. And that's not anything unusual. As a matter of fact, that's why it's been a while since I've installed anything. But what I'm going to do is unplug my drive, my big drive. Leave that in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and answer, yes, restore that. Now let's see. Reclaim all space. I guess it's going to format it to FAT32. As long as it does it okay, I'm happy with that. SanDisk Cruiser's pattern, that's the right name. I don't even have my other drive mounted now. I'll even go and see. Yeah, it's not in the list. And I know that nothing else is named SanDisk Cruiser pattern. So as long as you know somehow that it's the right one, right there, SanDisk Cruiser pattern. That's the name of that USB stick. I'm making sure I'm showing you. I've been switching around. I don't want to. You don't need to restore the drive if you want to write another live system to it. Oh. Okay. Well, that's what I'm going to do, so let's forget that. Okay, good. That's what I needed to know. All right, so I want custom image. Now, I went ahead and copied it to my local drive just because I got nervous there about messing things up. Can't type. Okay, but here's my image I want. Mate, Compez x86-64. It's 1.5 gigabytes. Okay, now then. Fedora Mate, ST50. What's that? 5 terabytes. I think it's pointing to my, see, it's pointing to my, it was pointing to my big drive even though it's not there, so you got to pay attention. I thought that doesn't look familiar, and then I saw it's seeing it as 5 terabytes. That's my USB drive that I just unplugged. What's going on here? It's not letting me select it. Oh, probably because it's showing 1.4, so I will have to restore it. But I believe it's starting to look like I'm using the wrong app. Maybe I should use the one they suggested. But I believe I tried it and it didn't work right last time. How do I know? Do I ever remember anything right? All right. Now it doesn't have that. Do you want to? So I'm gonna close the app. I'm almost 100% sure I used it last time and it worked wonderfully. So, and I think I may have had trouble with that app they suggested. Let's see. Media Writer. Open it up again and see if it sees. Yeah, it did it for me. Sees my the SanDisk Cruiser pattern. Restore. So I need to reclaim that space. I know it has 1.9 gigabytes of usable space. Okay, it's done. That was quick. Wow, I didn't think it'd be that quick. Now see, if you didn't already have it downloaded, you'd select one of those others and it would download it for you. But now hopefully this will be good. Because that's 1.5 gigabytes and I have 1.9 gigabytes of space on there. Yeah, now it shows up. And it doesn't even see the other drive now. So see, it was still seeing that. It was still thinking it saw that other drive because I had this open while that was being unplugged. That's what happened there. SanDisk Cruiser, it sees it as 2 gigabytes. Most of the apps see the actual space left. This one sees the okay, now I got to put in my root password. Let's make sure it's what it's saying. Hardly anything, yeah, super user, anything in Fedora is going to ask for a sudo password, which would be your regular user password. It will ask for the actual root password. And that's actually the way I prefer it. It's actually not only is it the way I learned, but it's more secure. Because if your system was compromised, there are it's malware and viruses that can affect Linux, and there's stuff like drive-by viruses and things, drive-by malware. If you ever got into any of that, and it already compromised your system, then going to the sudo, manually typing in your this is my way of thinking. If you manually, if everything is under sudo instead of true SU root privileges, then it will give your regular user more ability to destroy your system through malware. That's my way of thinking. But if you have to manually type in the root password, then so if you typed in your sudo, well, of course, depending on what kind of malware it is, but if you typed in your sudo password, the malware got it, then it could, well, let's just say it's not malware that gets your keystrokes. It can't get your root password when you type it. It can't either get your sudo password, your regular user password when you type it. But if you give elevated privileges, while that malware is running, even though it's for something else, I guess I'm going nuts not making much sense. Anyway, it just I can't. I've thought it through 100 times and I can't explain it. But there's just so many ways I've been able to think of how using sudo, allowing your only have to type in your regular user to do things that only root should be able to do can be very dangerous. I can't explain it. I need to stick to the program here because I can't get anything right today. My brain doesn't always work really well. Sorry about that. But let me get back to while that's doing that. I think this is going to work. If it doesn't, then boy, what a waste of time. I'll have to go back to square one. But installing. Well, that's writing that to my USB stick. We'll go to installing. Oh, wait, before I do that, I never did go to if you were to go, you get on, open up a new tab there. I wanted to just show the normal Fedora page because this is off on the spins page. Okay, there it is. Get Fedora. Fedora automatic server cloud. Obtain Fedora. Okay, that didn't do it. That would be the instructions on how to get Fedora. I should have it. If I just do the, oh, that's docs. Okay, let me just do this. I want to go to just fedora.org. That should be the home page since I didn't start there. There's the home page. And now if you go here, you got the choice of workstation, server, automatic, and that's a new thing that they've got. Automatically provides the best platform for your Linux Docker, and I haven't learned about all the Docker stuff. I wanted to, but I didn't. I was going to put on my last server, but it wouldn't run that stuff. I actually installed the app, and it couldn't run them because it was a 32-bit. But has to be 64-bit to run that stuff. Found that out. But and then here's all the other options, and that's where I was. I was over in the spins, and it's called, see, there's Fedora Labs is what they call it. And that's the main page. Now, if you say workstation is what I'm installing, that's called a workstation. You would just, if you clicked on that, then it would say download it, and it would just take you straight to download the 64-bit of Fedora with GNOME 3. And I'll click on it and see. I don't want to start a download by accident. Okay, that's the page. Yeah. If you kind of pay attention in there, used to always tell you right up front, what version you were getting. Now I think you have to kind of read through and see what desktop it's giving you. So I kind of started with the third or fourth page down the way is what I did. But if there's a screenshot of it, but if you love your mobile phone and you want your desktop to look like your mobile phone, then that's the one to get. Except if your machine is a Core 2 or something like that, then it probably won't run it very good. And if it's a 32-bit, it won't work at all. It'll probably have to fall back into legacy mode. So that's when you want to get into what the different ones. And if you had anything slower than a Core 2, I would go with XFCE desktop. And if that's not good enough, then I would go to, if it's not fast enough for that, then I'd go to the Bane. Is that still working over there? It's finished. Okay, so let's get out of all that. I think I'll close that extra business there. Just stay where I was. Okay, installing. Now, let's just kind of look over that a bit. The graphical install, what you're going to do is boot to live Fedora system. But this is the page you would go to read. If you'd never done it before, then you would need to read through some of this. And it will tell you, see, it tells you, you go step by step, and what you would do is go next, 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 next. But instead of, reading through all this, I'm just going to, and it is quite involved, and it's actually kind of overwhelming to try to read through all that. So it's done. I'm going to close the app here. We'll go over here and look at what we've put on it. I like to keep that open so I can see. As long as my file's growing, I know my video. See, I'm saving this video on my desktop at the same time that I'm streaming it live. So yeah, make sure I'm still on my live stream. Okay, so still that's what I'm showing. I have to make sure that OBS Studio is a switcher. It switches between my three different little. I have three phones, little Android phones, and my desktop, and then I can even do remote desktop as well, which is what I'm going to do while I'm doing my install. I'm already thinking I'm going to have to take a break and then start over because I'm going to need a break. Okay, so let's see, Fedora Mate. Okay, there it is. Here's the files you'll get. You get that Squash FS's image it boots to. 1.3 gigabyte. ISO Linux, that's some of the, that's the grub config and stuff. The files that make it boot. Images, there's a couple more images in there. EFI boot, Mac boot. I guess so you could boot it to a Mac machine. I didn't know you can install Fedora on a Mac machine. EFI, more to do with EFI. And So it'll boot on the new machine. It'll boot on the Windows boot BIOS too, Windows made BIOS, the one that Microsoft sponsored or built or however it was done. I'm not going to go into all that. That was a big deal for a while, but anyway, most all the Linux distros support that now. So now when on Fedora, I like to always, either one doesn't matter, but see here it is mounted on my desktop, right? And when you want to take out a USB stick, now the USB drive, it doesn't matter, but these USB sticks of mine, they're pretty old, and it works better if you right click and say it'll either say eject or safely remove. It just depends on what. Let's see if it does it on here. Yeah, well there it is, eject and safely remove. It depends on what kind of image. See, that's the system. That's for Windows stuff. It has some window. Oh, did I show that? E3. So that's just some little Windows apps to run with Windows. This was made, specifically to work with Windows, and you can't delete it. I've tried to get rid of it because I don't have any use for it, but you can't. It doesn't hurt anything. It's really small, but I just didn't like it being on there. But yeah, if you right click on there, you'll only see eject. But if you right click on here, you'll see safely remove or eject. And usually it doesn't really see, it'll do that sometimes. So then you got to go. It depends on what system you're in and what mood it's in. Sometimes you can click on either one. Sometimes it's better to, like in this, I think in Fedora 23, it seems to, I always forget because I use so many different systems, but if I do that and say eject, now I know for sure it's all unmounted. Now I think I'll put my USB drive back in there. When I say USB drive, I mean my big 4.5 terabyte drive. Okay, so put it back in my machine. I did that. Now let me get on my other camera. Okay, here's my little stick all ready to go. Now let's put it in the laptop. That laptop's kind of handy. It's got 4 USB plugs on it. So it's you can do all you need to do. So there's the screen. Which one is it? Okay, that's me. Okay, now it's pretty blurry. When these cameras are, they're only like 2 megapixels. But let me get my little mouse. I have a wireless mouse I can use on that laptop. So it saw that drive, and that's actually a good thing. Your drive's working. It's nothing broken on it. You could go. I had remote desktop running. I could run TeamViewer is what I'll be running, and I'll do that once I get it booted up. I'm not going to do it right now because I'm fixing to reboot. Now the thing is, I've already backed all this up. I didn't go into any of that, but I used Lucky Backup. See if that's going to come up. Yeah, there we go. Lucky Backup. I'll just show it right quick. You won't see it very good, but Lucky Backup is what I used, and see, it's showing an error there because the drive's not. I had my big Seagate drive plugged in, that USB drive, and I backed everything up. I spent whole night, whole evening backing everything up. Stream's still good, so I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to go ahead and reboot. So you can plug that in. I can plug in that USB stick with it not running just as well, no problem. Okay. I went ahead and tried to shut my browser down, and it was slow at responding. But now what I'm going to do here is I'll show this right quick. I'm going to be plugging this in too, but I don't want to plug it in until, depends on which camera do I want to aim it at. Let's see. Oh, it's hard to, okay, so that is my little, I don't think I can get close enough to that one. Yeah. Anyway, it's USB adapter for a micro SD card. And it's really hard to get that right. But that has TeamViewer on it that I can unzip onto my live system so that I can show a better view than this old blurry close-up. So what I'll do here is, wrong camera. It's not the way I used to. I always had them the same way every time, and I don't now. So what I'm going to do, use my mouse here. And like I said, you know, if you got a system that's full of stuff, you of course you want to make sure and back all your personal files up and everything. This one had Windows 7 and Fedora 21 on it. Windows 7 got virus, and I just got tired of messing with it. I had what was it? 3 machines. One. The Nova 5. This one. Another one. 3 of them. I think it was only 3 of them. That all 3 had Windows 7 on them. 2 of them were dual boots. The one that I'm on right now that I'm doing this video with, the laptop, had dual boots. And anyway, I ended up with viruses on them, malware. It obviously came from, they happened at the same time, and they all came from the same place. I never did figure out where. I did scan one machine with 10 different emergency scanner systems, you know, Linux rescue systems, to finally get it to run, say that it was clean, you know, nothing else reported. And then I just said, well, I don't trust it still after all that, so I reformatted it. And it was 32-bit, and I changed it to 64-bit, but it was a bit much for that machine. It's an AMD dual-core, and with 2 gig of RAM, and it just barely will handle. 64-bit uses a lot. It actually says you have to have a minimum 2 gig of memory, and they mean it. And that's what it has on it. So anyway, I haven't even turned it on in a long time. So luckily it doesn't get this bad, you know, no way for it to get the crypto locker since it hasn't even been turned on. But these other 2, I haven't got into Windows 7 either one of them since, this was a year ago now, I think, a while back. I just decided to reformat them, and I haven't. Maybe it was 6 months ago. But anyway, I'm just now getting around to starting to reformat these machines. So yeah, I have my desktops change automatically. So, but everything's backed up, including all of my cool desktop background. So my USB stick is in there, and got so many scenes now that I can't find. Okay, so my USB stick is in there, and it's so much clearer. See, when you zoom in, it gets very blurry. That's really odd about these cameras. I probably shouldn't even have tried to do it that way, because that's so much better not zoomed in. But I'm holding the camera up closer, you know. So what I'm going to do then is I think I'll put it back. I just can't hold still. That's the thing. With a handheld camera, you just can't hold still. So let's just go back to it's a little more blurry, but it will at least let me steadily show what's going on. Because what I want to do is show the TeamViewer was still, it was still running, so I could have showed it that way, but didn't realize it. Okay, so yeah, this TeamViewer is installed on this machine, but you can also run TeamViewer in a portable mode, and that's what I'll be doing once I get rebooted. I have a when you know you're fixing to delete everything, you kind of feel a little leery. Yeah, everything's backed up. I went through it completely. So here we go. This is it. This is the real thing. Restart. No turning back once I start the install. So there it goes. It's rebooting. Of course, like I said, you don't have to have a running machine, or you don't have to have it booted up. I just did that so that I could be watching my. Okay, now here's my wireless keyboard here. Well, let's test the media, since it's a brand new burn of that media. It's not a bad idea at all. It shouldn't take too terribly long. It'll test itself and make sure that it's no errors, that it should work. Now, I usually do get those errors. You can't read them, but there's I/O errors. Now, if you get a bunch of those and they don't clear up, you're not going to work. But that happens on this laptop every time I boot any kind of live media to it. Right now, it's at the bottom. You can see a little ticking thing. It's counting down. It's super blurry, isn't it? It's counting down. Oh, now I was going to grab the handheld phone, and I just accidentally got out of the app when I touched the wrong thing. Okay, yeah. It's counting down, checking. It's on, it's kind of 0.9%. Okay, that's finished. Yeah, there we go. So it's booting up now, I guess. Is it going to go ahead and boot up? Yeah, you can at least see what's going on that way, even if I can't hold that still. Gotta have more than one option. Okay, now I don't know if it's going to reboot and go back to the boot screen. That looks like it's booting up. Or it might not. I think it's booting up to the operating system that's already on there. That's what it looks to me like. Pretty sure it did. That's okay, I'll just reboot it if it did. But yeah, I think what it did is reboot, and for some reason it saw the it's been a while since I've used the test. No, that's the live user. Okay, good. That's what I needed. Now, will I have to click on it, or will it? It'll time out usually. I got to get on the other camera because, hello. Okay, I have to use the other camera because I got to have my left hand for the. So I'm going to go ahead and click on login. Some of them, it'll time out and it'll go ahead and log in. Some of these Linux distros, and sometimes I've seen them where if you clicked on that before it timed out, like you're in a hurry, it'll actually mess it up and it won't work right. So then some of them will just sit there, and it don't matter how long you sit there and wait. Okay, now there's some errors, and of course me trying to make a video, I misreading any of them. Looks like something, it's usually something to do with the desktop, but that's what Fedora 25 looks like. And yeah, see, the way my room is set up here, I can't set a camera right in here. I just didn't have a way to do that, really, without it really being in my way. I don't know, maybe I could have. Looking at things here, that's where my camera needs to be to shoot that laptop. So that's it. But what I'm going to do is get, that's me holding my camera and my arm getting tired. Well, I'm just going to have to leave it like that, and I'm going to get TeamViewer. And I won't try, you know how to plug something into a USB socket. So on the other side, I'm going to plug this, what I was showing you in my hand there, this little USB adapter with the SD card. It has something that I put on here called, it's a 32 gigabyte SD card. It has Easy to Boot, which has multiple Windows and Linux distro ISOs on it, and you can boot to them. But this is what I tried to install with, and it didn't work. So I'm going to put it in there just so I can run. Also have other files like my TeamViewer that I downloaded. Well, as you can see, I messed things up. What have I done here? Got it all out of whack. It was very crooked. That's all right, I guess. Okay, so as long as it's still in view. It was very crooked, so I'm gonna have to grab my wireless keyboard, put it down there where I can reach it. Now, where's my mouse? There. You can barely even see it. It's just a blur, but it's there. I'm looking at it in just a preview anyway. But I think I'll go. Let me switch over to my desktop first. Show what I'm talking about here. There we go. I'm going to go to, I want to make sure that I'm not, I'm going to go to YouTube. I want to make sure that I'm not doing all this for naught. Make sure that, there's my own live stream. Okay. I'll just click on it and see if that works out okay. Or I may have to go to my admin page to look at it. Actually, I will have to see the health of it and everything. It'll start playing out my speakers and driving me crazy with echo, probably. It's really, I got my volume down low, so it's not too bad. Oh, now I can see whether or not there's a chat. One time somebody actually said, "Hey, is this live for real?" And I didn't see it for a long time. And by the time I answered them, they'd left thinking it wasn't real, I guess. I need to go to my channel. I guess that's one good thing about the admin page of your live videos, and that is that it automatically, I thought it bugged me at first, but it mutes your audio. But then when you're the one making the video, and if you're, you probably don't want that echoing in your ear when you're trying to talk, so it's really confusing when it does. But I also was using it. What got me, one of the main reasons I would go there was so that I could hear my intro and exit music and know when to start and stop it. But it's really hard to get it, because there's a bit of a lag, in the live stream and everything. It's really hard to get it to all work right. So today I didn't even try, didn't even worry about it. So what do I want to go to? Cam 1? Yeah. Okay, so now I'm up in my live stream, live system, and what I'm going to want to do is install it. But so that I can show it, I'm going to go to my 32 gigabyte. I'm just going to click on it since I don't have, this is a brand new system. It doesn't have Crusader, my favorite twin panel file manager. So I just clicked on the desktop icon from that 32 gigabyte SD card, and I'll go to and use the native file manager. And I'm looking over there at the actual laptop. Of course, you can't read that on the video because it's, and I can't work. I'm having to hold the handheld camera with my left hand. I can't do that. That's what I'm using my mouse right now. So, but I can't. See, I can't really read that way. I always have to change the view to. I hardly ever use this. So, it's up here. List view. That's the only way I can read them. I can't read the other way. All right. So, what do I want? VNC remote viewer. Okay, now one good thing they do have in this file manager now, and of course it goes back to that weird view again every time you switch. Why in the world wouldn't it just keep with what you're doing? What you last thing? Extra pain. Okay, now over here on the other side, on the right side, I want to get into the downloads folder. Okay, now I have Team Viewer, and I want the tar XZ. Now I want to right click on it and extract it. Extract to, and that should send it to the other side, other pane. Then I can just run it. Oh, it gives me the word I get to choose. That's right, I always forget. I did this the other day to see how it was going to work, and I got it, and I made it happen. I was using the other 32-bit version that I already had on this stick. Works fine, no problems. And yeah, get into there. Now what I need to do is I need to run this Team Viewer, but it won't. If you try to double click on it, it won't run. And it didn't the last time. Why did I do that? Oh, it wasn't finished extracting completely. Okay, well I know it won't because I tried it. So what I'm going to do is right click, open terminal, and it luckily does open it in that folder. See, it says live Team Viewers. Now I'm going to say /Team Viewer. Whoa. get it? Yeah, okay. And that runs TeamViewer. In a minute it should start up. And so once this gets going, unless it had an error, I think I have an error. TeamViewer, no such file or directory. Sometimes it just takes a little while for something to start, you know, especially in a live system. Somebody at the door, but I don't have to answer it. Okay. Should be somebody else to get the door, I think. Maybe. Let me go run and look. I hate to do that, but let me look out the window. Okay, sorry. Well, didn't see a soul out there. Might have been a delivery truck or something. I don't remember having anything on the way. That's why I started wondering what it was. Okay, nothing started up, so it's small and I can barely read it. I can't really read every line. Let's see. The last time I ran it like this, it had a bunch of lines and then it ran. Let's see. I may have just TEAMVIEWERJS. It ran in the 32-bit version, but it may not be wanting to run. Okay, let me try it one more time. This time I'm going to go to Properties and copy and paste it in there so that I can't type it wrong. Okay, now I'm just going to do it again. Open terminal. Last time, let me just try SU. I think last time, okay, last time I SU'd into root privileges, I think, just because normally everything I do, not because I thought I wasn't thinking, maybe you do need to do that. Let's see. Keep saying no such file or directory. But it's in the TeamViewer folder. Now, why did it work in the 32-bit version but not in the 64-bit version? I made it SPAD ELF, no such file or directory. Success. Sometimes you get errors, but stuff still works, you know. Bad ELF, no such file or directory. Okay. Let's go. I read this before. That other file, TV-setup, will check for what you may need. Okay. Actually seems like it's trying to install it. If I want to install it, I could just use the RPM file that I have. Well, here's the thing. Maybe I should just figure out my problems, take a break, figure out my problems, and then come back with the install. That's what I'm beginning to think maybe I should do, because that's so blurry you can't be seen anyway. And I need a break super badly. Well, there's two things I hate. I mean, I could get things going and then take a break, but I also hate making super long videos. And this would be a good place to just kind of start anew, with the install. So I think I'm going to take a break, figure that out. I can't see it, and I'm trying to keep myself by the microphone and then read that, and I really can't see that far away. I'll leave that just like it is, take a break, and come back. So, yeah, there's the live chat screen. Yeah, there's nobody here wanting to talk to me, so it won't bother anyone. All right, so it's Dawn, and I will take a break and come back with the actual install. I'll try to get my TeamViewer all up and running probably before that, before I come back live, and that way I can show it, in a viewable, a readable fashion. I'll do it via remote desktop. Okay, it's Dawn, and I'll be back in a little bit. All right, thanks.